Welcome to the Real Momentum Podcast. It's Joe Herrera. I'm here with my guy Chuck Hill in Nashville, Tennessee. Chuck is a part of the Settle Down South group down there that we've been working with for 3 or 4 months now. So they are a collaboration partner for us, a referral partner. They're doing a lot of cool things down there. So Chuck, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So for anyone unfamiliar with you and your team specifically, how'd you get into the business? What's your origin story? Where are you from?
My origin story. I might have something different, and it's kind of similar to Dan, because you guys interviewed my partner a couple weeks ago. And it's similar in one way, but different in like all other ways. And so I'll make this quick for you, though. I grew up learning and practicing very hard at being a guitar player. And what I didn't know at the time
is everybody in Nashville a musician of some sort?
I don't know. Not everyone.
Like everyone in Hollywood, you're like, I've never seen such attractive like waiters and stuff, and everybody's trying to get a movie job, right? Is it that way in Nashville?
I think it's true for real estate agents, though. That's for sure. Everyone you're talking to, for sure. But what's interesting that a thing I'll point out that's different about that with me is I would get the guitar magazines that would say, here's what you got to do to kick ass. Here's what you got to do to get good. And what's interesting to sales is it was always, here's what you need to do to get what do you got to get great at next? And here's the steps to do that. And then do this and then track every day. And like I kept journals for years of like the exercises I did I do it every day? What's my progress? And what I didn't know is that those same skills would come into play later in my life. And after I was out of high school, I ended up in some sales positions because friends of mine, for example, they were building what's homes.com now was called something, I believe it's called Advanced Access in the past where I worked. And my friends were doing the website development and they needed salespeople and it was down the street. So I'm like, whatever, I'll do it. And then they said, call all these realtors every day and we'll sell them a web package and it's $900 and you'll make a commission of 10% on every deal. And I was like, okay. And then I realized very quickly that if I called 300 real estate agents a day, I would sell at least one of those. And if when I'm like 18 and I'm getting minimum wage plus the $90 every day, I was like rich, But it was the same thing. It was just, here's what you need to do. And then with the scripts, it was like, what can you do better? How do you close better? Tracking my numbers, all that stuff. It was just like the guitar playing for me. And I just went from doing that to actually selling heavy construction equipment, like everything from Bobcats to Caterpillar dozer machines for $250,000 and stuff. And
a little bit higher commission than $90 on the cats, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I worked with a very professional old sales guy, and I would wear a headset at first, and I would take notes while he did big negotiations, like $1 million deals, and I'd take notes and CRMs and all this stuff. And that just led me to somebody approached me about being a loan officer, and I became a loan officer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what time frame? So
yeah,
you moved. Are you from Nashville originally?
No, I'm from Southern California.
Okay, so where were you during this process of playing the guitar and
all in Orange
Access?
Yeah, all in Orange County in Anaheim Hills.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and then so I became a loan officer, and then we started doing ad spend with real estate agents, and no one was following up. No one was doing what they needed to do. So my job quickly became.
Yeah, you feel my pain.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where I'm going with this. Is my job became as a loan officer was to coach agents on productivity so we could get higher conversion rates off internet leads. And that eventually led me to going, you know what? Why am I waiting on these people to send me a deal to work with a buyer? What I always liked about being a loan officer was back when I would cold call and we would do a refinance, I was calling people with equity, and then I was getting paid a commission off their equity. And
right.
someone pointed out to me, dude, be a listing agent, man. You're the perfect listing agent guy. And he's like, then what? And then I'm like, I put 2 and 2 together. So I'm going to call people with equity and get paid 4% instead of like 1% as a loan officer.
Right.
Yeah, I'm in. So then I got licensed, and I've been licensed since the early part of 2018. And
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you still mess
my
with mortgage at all, or you're purely real estate?
I carried both licenses short term, but like I said, I wasn't so interested in the purchase arena of being a loan officer and dealing that closely with the agents for whatever reason. So I just let it go, and I focused on being a listing agent exclusively right out the gate.
So, I mean, I could probably identify a few things, but looking at your origin story, what do you identify as your superpower? Like, what are you super good at? Like, what are you, if you look at and say the average real estate agent is X, and I'm so much better at this one thing, where does your superpower lie?
I think it's two things. One is the diligence regardless of comfortability. So like I'm willing to be uncomfortable. And then I'm also the other thing would be coachable. Like I'm coachable to a fault. Like if someone tells me if someone says, tell that other agent to F off, I'll tell them something like that.
You know what I mean? Literally. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm coachable to a fault, but also I think again, back to being a musician and being self-aware, and always like when you practice guitar and you mess up, you have to notice it and then fix it. Right. So like when I cold call people, I'm very focused on what's my pacing, what's my phraseology, which is like a riff to me, you know, and like, how can I make the riff better? And like when other people hear me cold call that are even using the same scripts, oftentimes they go, dude, you got like the perfect, perfect approach to. I'm saying the same words, but I'm saying it a different way or a different pacing or something. But it's just because I'm constantly looking to how can I do better on the very next call, you know.
Well, and I know for you guys, cold calling is a big part of your business. What, I mean, how is 2021? How is 2022 looking in that arena? What I think is interesting is that you said, I'm comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Like you're comfortable. We call that persistence. You're a persistent individual. But what I've noticed is some people are uncomfortable doing anything. So for you, I think you're uncomfortable doing a highly productive, highly skilled, challenging thing, where one of the issues we have in our industry is most real estate agents are uncomfortable talking to anyone that is not their friend or family or sphere of influence, where you're straight cold calling people. So talk about that.
Yeah. I'm kind of the opposite. Like I would rather call people that I don't know, you know, so, which is kind of,
that's called an extroverted introvert.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I like to stay in my office by myself. So I'm an introvert, but I'm calling the world of people I don't know.
Extrovert. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. And the thing about that is in regards to being coachable, I was coached on, I found my previous coach because I was already diligent on cold calling. So it became about like becoming more efficient and better at cold calling and, doing direct mail to my database. I mean, I've developed a database now in just a year and a half, 2 years time since I've been diligently cold calling, of about 500 sellers that say they're going to sell in the next 24 months for sure. And so, so you asked about how it's been. I mean, it's been hard because if people out there, maybe Joe, you're familiar, there's things like stir shaken. Are you familiar with that phrase?
No.
At all? Okay. So there's some technological things that are getting in the way of cold calling. And I really think that they're good things, on a national consumer level. But you know how your phone says things like suspected spam call, or those types of things? There's systems that are making that happen more often. So what's happened in the last year for sure has been that the contact rate, if I say a year ago, if I dialed 100 people, I would get about 15 of them would answer the phone, and I could ask them if they were thinking of selling their house. But in about June of 2021, this stir shaken thing. Anybody, we won't dig into that, but look that up. It's worth knowing, especially.
I get like 50 potential spam calls every single day.
Yeah. So what happened was the contact rate really dropped off. It really went down from like 15% a year ago to in about mid 2021, it became 3 or 4%. So wow. That means that you'd have to cold call like 3 times as much to have the same level of effectiveness. And for a guy like me, if I'm already cold calling 6 hours a day and going on appointments, I can't do more of that. So I'm trying to branch myself now. My diligence and persistence on those things has paid off, but I'm trying to add some things to my business, not only to compensate for that, but also to propel me forward and to do more in the future.
So I think what you landed on there is really good, which is it is impossible to be a real estate professional that is unwilling to pivot. What is working today may not work tomorrow. What's working tomorrow may not work next month. What's working next month may not work next year. And so unless you have so many friends and family buying homes with you that have no other choice and no other options, you have to learn how to pivot and do the things that are going to open up new doors for you. So what are some of the things you're working on? What are some of the new doors you're opening?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I like to say that I'm diligently open. So, and I have to be really protective of your time, because in this industry, there are so many things that you can learn. I mean, you know, if you're coachable like I am, that could be a problem. You know, it's like, I want to try everything. I want to do everything. So what I've kind of made a point of doing is, while I'm working, this is kind of step number 1, I think, for anybody, is if you're like me and you're already diligent in your work, you really got to keep like a notepad off to the side. And when you think about that next big thing, just write it down. Don't stop cold calling. Don't not call your sphere and switch to learning about how to do TikTok. You know, like, write it down. And then like after hours, you know, like after my kid goes to sleep and after I've eaten dinner, I'll get out that little list of things I want to learn, and I'll learn about those things at that time. So it doesn't interfere with the stuff I know if it's becoming less productive, but I'm still going to do it. But until that cold calling thing is replaced, I have to save the study time for later. But the thing that, and I still actively study and
I've got a new thing for you. It's called Run the Joe Taylor Group for us in Nashville. Like or find the guy or girl to run Joe Taylor Group for us in Nashville, because our challenge is always we have no problem creating opportunities for people to talk. But I think what you may not realize is your skill set, your superpower, is actually a rarity in our industry. Because, you know, what people are so comfortable with is, I want to make more money working less hours. Those are not my people. The people I love are, I'm willing to work however much I have to work to achieve my financial goals. Give me that realtor and they're going to kill it. Like, give me that real estate professional and they're going to dominate. Right. It's sad that that's not our industry.
If you can make $500 an hour, how many hours a day would you work? All of them.
23.
You know, exactly.
So talk about your weakness. What's your kryptonite? If you said this is the thing holding me back, what is it?
Yeah, let me write that down. So holding me back. Just to rewind 1 second, I think on what I'm doing next is I kind of have a background in like, I used to run the morning announcements in high school from like the control booth with like and like from the video and production side. So and I've done music production and video production for music groups I've been in and things, and those are the skills that I've negated in real estate while I've been cold calling so hardcore, because I stayed focused. But what I'm doing is I'm bringing those things into my business now. So like on Sunday, I'm getting ahead too. So I recorded Franklin, Tennessee homes that you can buy from $300,000 to $400,000. And then yesterday I went out and I did one, Nashville, Tennessee, $400,000 to $500,000. And I also, with my internet background and SEO understanding, I look to, and my comfortability with being on camera, to go all in on YouTube is my thing that I'm doing right now. And the main reason is, somebody said it to me that I don't know who it was or where I heard this, but it clicked. It was, every time you make a YouTube video, it's out there prospecting for you 24 hours a day.
Yeah,
And someone I know that said that, they said they got COVID and for 2 weeks they couldn't work. But he had already back produced 10 videos. He was 10 videos ahead. And when he went away from production, he referred the deals to his friends, and they actually did a higher conversion rate when he got out of the way, and he was laying in bed sick. And so when I heard that, it's like maybe that's the ticket to getting out of production, but still having fun in real estate. So
that's awesome.
That's the thing. So holding me back, I don't know what's holding me back.
Like where do you look? Yeah. Where's your? I guess let me rephrase that. Like, where's your greatest source of envy? When you look at other realtors and you're like, man, I wish I could do what they're doing. Is it the YouTube thing? Is there other areas where you're like, like I envy people who can sing, I envy people who can run, and I envy people who can control their desire to eat sugar, because those are three things I struggle with, right? So it's easy to envy people who are good at things you're not good at. So like where in the real estate space, where's your greatest source of envy?
I'm not much of an envious person in general. When I see what other people are doing, I don't associate envy. I like to think about, like, can I model that? Can I copy that? I want to do that too. And then I look at it as like something I can learn. Maybe that's back to guitar playing. Like some of my favorite players ever growing up, I'm not like, oh my God, like I'm never going to be that great or whatever. It was, like at the first guitar lesson I ever went to, the teacher said, so what do you want to learn? And I played him the song and he goes, are you out of your mind? But
that was like Bill Murray on Groundhog Day. Like he keeps going to the same piano teacher, and she's so proud of him at the end because he's playing this thing. I always wondered why he kept going to lessons after he got better than her. But anyways,
I think I appreciate the question, and I know it's taken me a second to answer, but in regards to what's holding me back would be the same things that are helping me go forward. Like I'm so diligent and persistent with the things that I do. What would be holding me back is not even though I'm open to the idea and I have the understanding of video production and SEO and all these things I can do, what holds me back is my confidence in what's been working already. So, it's really hard to switch away and say, okay, if I don't have an appointment today from 2 to 4 o'clock, then I'm going to go and shoot a video, as opposed to just staying on cold calling. So I'm pushing through that resistance. Is what I call it. I don't know if you call it that too. It's called resistance. Yeah. And so I'm pushing through that resistance by a motto I've always had, which is, if you're uncomfortable, but it's something you want to do, then you just do it anyway. And my uncomfortable part is if I put the phone down, like, am I going to be able to pay my bills? So, but if I put the phone down, if the phone is worth $100 an hour, I don't know, just make this up, but then YouTube could pay me, over the course of a year, it could equate to, $200 an hour. Well, then that's a fair thing to make a trade,
Sure.
So it's just evaluating that.
No, and I think the key there is that principle that a good man knows his strengths, a great man knows his weaknesses, right? Yeah. But the reality is, like, it's important to understand both. And there are times when our greatest strengths are our greatest weaknesses because we rely too much upon them. So it keeps us from moving forward. And it sounds like for you, I think you have a clear picture of where you want to go, which is awesome. You're doing something amazing, which is a strength. But what you're doing amazing, keeping you from doing the next thing, may be a weakness. So it's kind of cool to do that self-evaluation, right? So
it definitely is.
I think it's awesome, man. I'm grateful to be in business with you. I'm grateful to learn from you. I've actually really enjoyed this discussion we've had. And as always, I look forward to continuing to work with you guys. And you're doing great stuff in Nashville. And I can't wait to keep it going.
Yeah, same to you. I appreciate, we haven't had you and I hadn't really had a one-on-one conversation. You've been talking mostly to my partner over time, and I've been in the background. So it's nice to this is actually our first real one-to-one conversation anyway. So,
nobody can put baby in a corner for too long.
Yeah, exactly.